Okay, let's get right into it. Ninja 300. I bought this bike about 2 months ago, and I didn't want to just do a review on it right away as soon as I got it. I wanted to wait, put some seat time in it, put some miles on it, so just do one review and give all my likes, dislikes, and what I think about the components and everything else, mods I've done, etc., etc. And the short of it is, I like the bike. It's a very good bike, very stable, confidence inspiring, smooth. I like the bike. And it's ironic because the way this went down was, I had seen these on Craigslist, and I loved this blue. And I told my son, I said, boy, if I ever found one of these close, with low miles, in good condition, in this color, I'd jump on it. That's exactly what happened. 10 miles from my house, a young guy had it, got tired of making the payments on it. We negotiated, I got a really good price on it. It only had 1,000 miles. I took the bike. Happy with it. I kind of get a little annoyed when people say, oh, it's a beginner bike. Oh, you bought a beginner bike. It's not a beginner bike. It's a small displacement sport bike. Can beginners ride it? Is it suitable for beginners? Sure. You know, it's better this than on a 600 or 1,000. But just because it's a smaller cc size, don't think that people don't buy these just because they're economical and they're still fun. So, totally happy with it. And this bike just looks good from any angle. Anywhere you look at it walking around, there's not a bad view of this bike. All the angles, everything is just, it's a very good looking bike. I get so many compliments. People, what is that? They don't even know, because there's no sticker that says 300 on here anywhere. It just says Ninja. Like, oh, that's such a good looking bike. What is that, you know? I usually tell them it's a 300. They don't care. Man, that's a good looking bike. The turn signals. It's another reason I like this bike. I got the turn signals here in the frame. I love that. There's no stalk sticking out, you know. It's very clean. And I did a mod. I got rid of the ones in the back, and I'll go over that later. But you know, at least you're halfway there with them already in the front, but you don't have anything goofy hanging on. And the ergos are good. I'm 6 foot, 160. Bike fits me fine. I'm not cramped. I'm not bent over too far that my wrists start hurting. But it's got an aggressive enough position that you can hang off of it, and if you want to get deep in some corners, the bike will do it, no problem. There's plenty of room in this seat to move back, and while we're talking about the seat, it's okay. Not great, not bad. I wouldn't want to do more than 2 hours in this seat. I'd have to be getting off of this seat after 2 hours max. But I don't really ride more than 2 hours at a stretch, so for me, it's not really an issue. I'm not looking to do anything to replace it, and it's as good as it needs to be for me. Same thing with tires. It's got IRCs on it. I don't know if all the Ninja 300s come with the IRC. These are road winners. I'm going to say 90% of the people that ride these bikes will never even discover the limits of these tires. I ride pretty hard. They seem to be working fine with me. Would I like to have a pair of Diablos on there? Sure. I might eventually put a pair on there because I'm not really sure that I'm going to get rid of this bike. I got it for such a steal. I'm thinking maybe I'm just going to keep it. I could probably make $1,000 on it if I sold it, but at this point, I don't have the desire to do that. I'm taking it to work. I take it out on sunny days, and I have fun on it. So the suspension is good. I thought it was going to be really soft, spongy, and cheap on a smaller displacement bike, and it's not. It's very comfortable over the bad surfaces on the road, but yet it's firm enough that you can charge corners, go in deep, and it doesn't get unsettled. So I don't think there's any adjustments on it. Anyway, yeah, there is 5 settings on the rear, and I did stiffen it up 1. So that's the only setting you get. But decent. It's decent suspension. Brakes, they're okay. Not great. Good enough. I'm sure you could throw on some stainless steel lines and get a lot better feel. But they're good. The clutch is fantastic. I mean, This clutch is probably one of the smoothest clutches I've ever had on any motorcycle that I've ever ridden. And it's so light you can do it with one finger. It's ridiculous how smooth and light the clutch pull is. Totally happy with the clutch. Even the engine. The engine is very smooth. It revs high. Of course, it's got a higher red line. But you can have it a gear high in a slow corner where a lot of bikes, when you roll back on the throttle, would get that jerkiness to it, and this one doesn't. It's very smooth. I did change the gearing. I went up one tooth on the counter sprocket to a 15, and it dropped my RPMs when I was at 50-60 miles an hour, and that's what I was looking to do. Of course, I was hoping that I could get 60 out of second by stretching it a little bit. That didn't happen. I'm able to max out first gear at 30, second gear 55, but I can't get to 60 without shifting into third. So it didn't help me on the acceleration like I hoped it would, but it's way more settled at 60 and 70. It's not so buzzy. Not that it has any vibration. That's bad anyway, but it's just not tacking that high. It dropped it probably about, I'm guessing, about 800 RPMs for every gear. So I'm happy with it, and I'm going to keep it like that. On a side note, I did do a test run, and max speed that I could get tucked, wide open, flat road was 92, and I was a little bit disappointed. I thought it was going to crack 100. I was hoping it would crack 100. But 92 was the max that I got. Now, I'm sure there's probably guys who have other ones that are maybe getting a lot better than that, but for me, that's what I got. I do have a Kaufman exhaust on there, which I highly recommend that exhaust. That sounds fantastic. And when you de-accelerate, it pops, and it makes a really cool noise if you want it to. You can do that at your discretion. So happy with that exhaust. It does not sound like a 300. I have video I'll do of the drive-by that I'll show you, but just idle, nice and neat, normal to it. Now, they're saying the horsepower on these are mid-30s. I'm saying that's probably about right. 0 to 60, I'm guessing is probably 5 something. I'm sure you could get a low 5 out of it. And the slipper clutch, I really didn't notice it. I really can't tell the advantage to it. I don't feel it working as opposed to other bikes. I've blocked the rear up coming in hard, downshifting quick, and I thought that's what the slipper clutch was supposed to eliminate. So for me, it's not like it's not even there. I really don't have an opinion on it. One thing I've done is Plastidip, and you paint the back of the windscreen. Can't see through it, but as long as you paint the back, it still stays shiny in the front, and it looks like you just have a tinted windshield. I don't ever crouch down low enough to look through my windshield, so I'm not worried the fact that I can't see through it. But as you can see, it's just such a beautiful bike. Oil changes. You don't even have to take the fairing off. There's the filter right there. The drain bolt is on the side right here, and these guys I'm watching videos, they're taking the fairings off to change the oil. I don't get it. I don't get why you do that. I mean, I can change the oil on this in 5 minutes. So as long as you don't put your filter on so daggone tight that you can't, you know, get it off. And I would recommend getting it a little bit loose before you warm the engine up, because sticking your hand in there with them hot pipes is not a good idea. But put a little tank pad on there. The sprocket was a little bit of a pain in the ass to change. You got to take off a little bit of stuff, but you also have to have like an impact gun to get that bolt on, because that thing was on there. I tried to do it with a rod through there, locking it, and it was on there so tight I just couldn't get it. I had to bust out the impact. That got it off. But the sprockets are cheap, you know, 15, 20 bucks. So the headlights are great. I've taken it out at night. They're fantastic. They're bright. I leave them on high beam all the time, day or night, because you're gonna see me. You want to flash me down, that's fine. I'm riding with my high beams on. And honestly, I don't like it the way they do these new bikes, where you got one beam on when it's low beam and the other one's high. I don't know why they do that. I'd rather just have both of them low beam and both of them high beam. But so that's how I ride it. And yeah, they're decent lights. I also like the display. Very, very nice to have your digitals for your miles an hour, your odometer and your trip meter down here, your fuel gauge, which another thing, this thing has such a huge tank on. I haven't reached the limits of this tank yet. I don't like it going down too far, but I'm saying easily probably over 200 miles out of a tank. The only bad thing about the dash is the turning indicators are like smoke colored, so they're really hard to see, especially, you know, in the daylight. If you leave your signal on, you know, that's not that bright, that flashing green. I don't know why they smoked them out like that. The neutral light isn't smoked out, so you got me. But it's, you know, 13 grand red line. You know, if you're really going for speed shifting or whatever, it's nice to, you got this big huge tack to watch. You know, the only thing it doesn't have is it doesn't have a gear indicator. If you're a beginner, yeah, sure, that would probably be a good thing to have, but honestly, anybody who's riding for a number of years, you don't need a gear indicator. None of the old bikes had gear indicators on them. You get used to it. If you have a bike and you ride it long enough, you know what gear you're in just by the sound of the engine, how fast you're going. So I got a couple vids I'll do with the exhaust, driving by, stuff like that. Okay, a little bit on the tail light that I did, and I researched quite a few of them before I chose one, and this one is made by TST Industries, and their build quality seems very good. It wasn't too hard to put in. It's plug in play. It plugs right into the harness that's under your seat. You got to take a little bit of the plastics off to get to it, but it's not that bad. The instructions were okay. They weren't great, and the kit was $200, and it also came with this pivot license plate mount that bolts right up into the stock setting, stock holes, and it allows you to pivot your license plate. Now, I also bought their LED tag light, and because I put that on, it did not allow me to angle up the license plate any higher than you see it now. I kind of wanted it up a little bit more, but that's as far as it's going to go. They have versions that are clear, they have them smoked, and they have them programmable and non-programmable. This setup right here was $200, and I wanted the clear because it was going to be brighter, and I went with the programmable, and I'll show you what that all entails. It's way brighter than the stock one to begin with, and the way they have it where you can program it is it's just a button. You take off the seat, it's just a button you push, and there's like 5 or 6 different modes. You don't have to have any of them if you want, but one of the modes that you'll see is the sequential turn signal, and I wanted that. And not only does it have that, but inside the relay that they give you, there's a, I guess it's called a potentiometer. You can speed that up or slow that rate down of flash, depending on your preference. But, so that's one of the programables. The other one is, I mean, if you don't want that, you can just have it flash solid yellow without being the sequential, you know, that's your decision. But it also has the flash for the brake, and that's what I wanted, because that really gets people's attention when you step on the brakes. And as you can see, the brake light is pretty bright, and it goes all the way around. There's no really loss on the sides. And so I leave it set up with the flash and the sequential lights. I really think it looks great. It really cleaned up the back of the bike. I got rid of the stalks coming out. I got rid of the plastic piece. And it's a shame they can't sell them this way, because this is what people want, but I guess because of regulations. Now, a word of caution, when you do buy this kit, it says it's intended for show display only. You'd have to find a really pissed off officer having a bad day, I think, to give you a hard time about this, because I mean, from a rider perspective, it's so much safer having that flash. So, but anyway, that's the TST Industries light. I'd also like to add that these engines are known for their reliability. I'm sure you could probably, if you had one long enough, put 60 or 70,000 miles on one of these bikes with nothing major going down, just oil changes, chain sprockets, whatnot. And I want to talk about the power. From 1 to 7, there's no power. That's pretty much, you got to get this thing singing. At about 75, she wakes up, and anywhere from 8 to 12 is where it's making its power. So on most bikes, bigger bikes, you got 2 or 3 cars in front of you, you want to pass them, you usually can drop down a gear and do your pass. On this bike, it'll do the same thing, but you're going to drop down 2 gears, because you got to get it right back. You got to get it right up to 75 or 8 if you want to make your pass quickly. So that's something that I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it teaches you good riding skills. It makes you pay attention to what your engine is doing, what RPMs you're at. I think it teaches better fundamentals. So I don't rag on it. I'm just, if you're really like, you're going to take this bike to the track, this thing's probably never going to go under seven grand. You got to keep it singing the whole time. But the good thing is, these engines will do it, and they don't seem to have any problem running those high RPMs. I mean, even when you're cruising this bike at, say, 60 miles an hour with my 15-tooth sprocket on it, I'm running about 7,900 or about 6,900 RPM in top gear. So on some bikes that's very buzzy and high for the RPMs, but on this bike it's not. So that's another thing you just have to get used to, and it is what it is. And you get over that, you know, thought that you're going to blow up your engine because the thing's spinning so fast, but these bikes will do it. And this engine has been out for a long time, and there hasn't been any major issues. You see a lot of older ones on the road. So another reason why I was, you know, wanting to get one of these, because I knew it was such a good, reliable bike. And on top of all that, I mean, they get like 70 miles to the gallon. The bike has an eco indicator, which, you know, until I had downloaded the manual, I didn't even know what that was. Of course, you only see it at startup. It's right here. There's 3 little circles. And for the first week, I'm like, what the heck is that icon signify? I had no idea. And it's but if you're getting 70 miles at a gallon, that's pretty doggone good. So definitely happy with that. These are awesome bikes to learn the fundamentals, and I always love seeing guys on the track or in like YouTube videos on a smaller bike, just whooping up on like a 600 or even sometimes leader bikes, you know, because, you know, people always want bigger and better, but sometimes, you know, you got all you need. If all you want to do is charge corners and, you know, drag knees and pegs, she'll do it. That's my opinion. Like the bike, pleased with it, not gonna flip it. Probably have my son riding it for a year or two if I even ever do get rid of it. So I'll do some more short clips of riding and stuff. If you have any questions or input on it, or you have one and you did something different, you know, leave me a comment.